in the coach's office with my man, Ryan Hamilton, new offensive coordinator here at Melissa High School, giving me a tour, and blown away. I shouldn't be blown away because I've coached here, like I've been here. But every time you step on campus and you look at the facilities, it's unfair. It's literally being on Division I college campus. I want to know, Hammy, from you, what is the biggest difference now that you've been promoted to offensive coordinator? Like, how is your responsibilities, like your day-to-day, what's different about it?
It hasn't changed too much. I think I took some advice a long time ago from the guy that's our head coach right now.
Sure.
So that was 8 years ago, and he told me to always act like the guy. And so that's something that I have tried to do. Obviously, there's things I didn't really focus too much on, like not my position or what I was in charge of, whether that was the pass game or whatever. So I think that's the thing that's probably changed the most is I got to watch everything and make sure everything's flowing together. I told these guys today in our meeting is that we're all the OC. At the end of the day, yes, I'm calling the plays on Friday, but I just feel like my job is to organize Friday night and have the flow of the game. But all these guys are helping me build that, that call sheet and what we're going to do for the game. And I think it's been really fun to like build the practice schedule and say, this is what I want to do to get this done instead of just my position and what we're going to do within that time frame as I get to build it and say, hey, I want to work this during this time and have different focuses. So
I know if you're building the practice schedule, you still have that Chiefs period in there, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Getting to practice all the.
We've called it like multiple things. Now I've kind of changed so it's our jumbo set.
Oh, nice.
And it's kind of just, that's like last year that was kind of my baby. We did some wing tee stuff in it last year, and but I think anytime you can give somebody a change up like that, it's huge, and we can bring the big boys in.
Sure.
And those defense guys.
I always remember that being the funnest part of practice, and that's where you could see the kids just get excited, and like obviously that's really important because this practice is so long and it can get mundane, so to get them excited.
Last year we had a kid that had moved in from a different school, and he was a big defensive lineman, and we had been doing that jumbo, and he was our jumbo set running back outside of Nate, and going into the Lovejoy game, he came up to us and he's like, hey, I've thrown passes before. And, we're like, this is a D-line.
Like, okay.
And he threw a pass and we're like, shoot, like this guy can throw it. We weren't expecting him to throw 40 yards like he did. But he's like, I can do that Tebow jump pass. And so we're like, let's see what happens. And so we did it. And that was the lone touchdown we had in the Lovejoy game was him running the jumbo pass or the jump pass. And, and it worked to perfection. Our tight end got low and snuck through. And
it's awesome.
We've done some things like if you're familiar with the Chiefs running the snow globe thing. We tried that last year. We did the Michigan lineup and broke out. And it's just, I think it just lets the kids have fun. And that's, that's who I am. I want to play for fun and play backyard football.
For sure. That's awesome. So to anybody who's watching and they want to break into the game of coaching in Texas high school football, they want to be an OC one day, like what's the best piece of advice you could give someone who either they're trying to get in or more focused, someone who's coaching right now, who's just like a lowly assistant like I was, like what's the best advice you could give them?
I think, one thing I always try to do, and I would strongly advise is just always have a notebook, and take notes. And I think one thing, this was an old, I think Bill Belichick talked about is that you should have a notepad every time in any meeting, even if it's just like they're going to tell you what the schedule of the day is going to be. Because there might be just something that comes up that you're like, oh, that's a good idea. And then one thing I did is I always had this little binder, like this little booklet, and I would just write down things like, I don't like this about this practice schedule, or about how we do this or these plays. And this is also things that I love that this coach does, and so now I can use those things and bring it and say, this is my philosophy. It's not somebody else's philosophy.
Sure.
So I would say definitely, pay attention, go as many, we're going to coaching school this weekend and I'm probably the weirdo that goes and sits in all the meetings and listens, but I just feel like you can always get something, and we do a very specific offense and like things that we do. So there's some things that wouldn't work in what we do, but I always feel like you can use something to get better. So
Yeah, dang right. I love that. Man.
always stay green. I think that's once you feel like you've arrived.
Yeah.
You know, I get uncomfortable when people around me are comfortable. You know, and I don't know why that is. And that's something that my dad always said to me is, you know, when if you're comfortable and people around you are comfortable, that's when things are going bad.
Yeah, you get complacent, and
yeah.
you're either getting better or you're getting worse, right? Dang right. I love that. Let's talk real quick facilities. I know we toured and we talked about this a little bit, but I get so tired. Like you guys, Melissa High School is blown up on Twitter. I've seen CBS Sports post some stuff, Max Preps. I've seen multiple like big name reporters come in and take pictures and post it. And if you go through the comments, I'm sure you guys have seen, is everyone their favorite go-to is like, oh, what does the library look like? What do the academics look like? And if only people knew what was going on here. Like, speak to that. Like, how do the facilities, the athletic facilities, benefit the school, and how does Melissa do taking care of the rest of the student body?
Yeah, we're extremely blessed, obviously, with the community that donates. I mean, I shouldn't say donates, but I mean, these are taxpayer dollars that are doing this stuff. And so with these bonds, I mean, obviously the community sees a need for it and whatnot. And we've seen those comments and people want to say things like, I talk to people back home that are like, you know, the same thing. What's every other building look like? You know, and if you see what they've done here with the academic towers, and obviously Melissa's in the top 10 in the state for academics. But then you go and see like our theater room. I mean, it's a full-on production room. Yeah. You know, and they're building the new basketball gym, and the band hall is massive. You know, so I think not only have the people of Melissa put money into athletics, they put money into everything. Yeah. You know, they just put money into our kids, and that's on our athletic boosters and you know, and our admin and the people at home office and all that have done a good job of saying we want all this for Melissa.
May I
so
have your attention,
this one's a little bit. The internet will go out.
That's what it does. That's what it's doing. Cool. Okay. That's the best point. I remember when I coached here. Coach Nally is the head coach. Talking about investing in the kids all the time, and a lot of people say things and they talk the talk, but not a lot of people walk the walk. And my experience at Melissa was that they walk the walk as far as giving their kids, not just athletes but students as well, like everything they could need to be successful. And I think it reflects it. And we saw the indoor and we talked about this, but like every team is using that, right? Basically every team that needs some space has the opportunity to use it. Even in like non-conventional, you know, they don't need to play on a football field or whatever, but they utilize, like the golf team goes in there and they hit shots, right? Yep. Remember seeing that.
And they just built a putting green on the backside.
Oh my gosh,
so
just a straight up country club over here, dude. Awesome. Incredible. Yeah, so like I that always bothered me, and like the reason I got out of coaching had nothing to do with Melissa, and had nothing to do with the program or being mistreated at all. It was a personal thing, and so I still feel a sense of pride, like for Melissa. Like I got my Melissa shirt on, my hat. No one has got it backwards, but like I have a sense of pride here because I was a part of it, and I know the people here, and I know the kids, which is the most important thing. Is the quality of kids that are here is just incredible. So I just love seeing them continuing to do big things, and it's awesome. So football wise, like, I had a couple football questions been mulling over in my mind. I wonder, is you as the OC, how you see things, like not to bring up bad stuff from the past, but it feels like Melissa's expectation is a state championship every year. And while I was here, we got close, but we never got it done. Obviously, that's you live and breathe to be the best. Like I know you in that sense. And here we've got to win a state championship. So I want to know like why you think, without pointing fingers or getting specific, obviously, like why do you think Melissa's come up short in the past, and what do you think you're doing different to get over the hump this year?
Yeah, I mean, the hard part was, you know, last year we losing that semifinal, or I guess the regional final to go to the semifinal, and then the very next year we go to 5A and do the same exact thing, losing the fourth round, and you can kind of just taste it, and you just know if you get past that game, you're going to state most likely, and you have a good shot at winning it. And so it's been really tough, and I mean, kind of before I jump to your question, you know, I remember getting on the bus last year, and we lost in the second round last year to the team that we had gotten beat to the year before that in South Oak Cliff. And I texted my wife and I said, "You need to get ready to pack up the house. We're probably getting fired." And I told Coach Nally that, and Coach Nally's like, "Bro, we were 10-2." Like, you know, and I just felt like that same thing is that we've had these expectations and we've had the dudes to do it.
Yeah.
And we just have come up short, you know. And if you look at the games, and the thing that kills me every year is, one, I feel like we outplay ourselves in the sense of like maybe not finding every little thing that we should have for the game plan.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we've done different things. I mean, we've had turnovers. You know, that year for you, we throw that pick six, and then we go down and incomplete on fourth down, and the very next play they hit a bomb, and that kind of changed the game.
That was the whole game,
You know, and so it's just like, I feel like not necessarily I think we haven't been, I don't want to say unprepared, but just like little things. And I think the little things have gotten us. You know, last year I think was really hard because we were ranked number 1 the whole year. You know, we had guys out the galore going to college football, and I think even for us coaches, I think it was just, you know, we're expected to be number 1, you know, and then we get beat by Lovejoy. And it was a tough game. I mean, pretty much the whole game at 7-7. It was 14-7 for a long time. And then after that, you kind of just, are the kids going to be able to handle that? And we didn't have a scare against the first round opponent, but it was like a little tight at first. And, you know, and then we go out and we play South Oak Cliff, and I think the kids were ready, but we got down early, and it was just, it was almost like this is what always happens to us. That's kind of like,
that was kind of setting in.
This is what happens. Here we go. You know, and there are some tournament events where if you just see, like, if we don't get a field goal blocked, or if we do certain little things, or there was a time that they called a pass interference, and I don't want to blame it on the referees, but they called pass interference on Carson Maynard that's in there. And it's like, I mean, I thought it was offensive pass interference, but I gave them first down, they score. Whereas we get that stop, we scored in 2 plays right after that. And
that's a great point you bring up, because it's one of my like most frustrating things that I fight with people on the internet about. Because I love fighting with people on the internet, is people don't understand, if you've never played ball, or if you have played ball but you've never won a championship, like, to understand how much luck goes into being able to win a championship. Because you weed out all the bottom feeders that don't have the talent, don't have the coaching staff, they don't have the infrastructure in place, and you get these final 4 to 8 teams, somewhere in there, 4 to 6 teams that have a real shot. And in a lot of cases, it just comes down to luck. Like, that's just, it's sports, like that happens. And for some reason, like you're talking about that pass interference call on Maynard, like, for some reason in that split second, that ref decided to throw a flag. Whereas he probably doesn't 10 out of 10 times, but for some reason it went against you. So I always felt like, there was always a amount of luck. Like that Stephenville game, that last game I coached in, like, that's how it felt to me. Was golly, man, we just felt like we couldn't get something to go our way.
And you think about, like, I mean, I think there's just so many things that go into it. Like I said, I don't think we were unprepared on either side of the ball. You know, I would kick myself for 2 years ago when we lost to Sauk. That, I mean, we threw the ball for like 28 yards, and as the pass game coordinator, that's not good. And, you know, I took the blame. 100% when I got on the bus, you know, Pickup and I were just like, you guys, this is on us. And that's something that we changed. I mean, last year we threw for quite a bit against them, and that was just our main focus, is that we got to find ways to throw. But like the Stephenville game, if you remember, right before half, they kind of cheap shot Nascimento. And our whole team wanted to chirp at their stands that were chirping at us. And I just felt like it was just a weird type of thing where, I don't know. I just don't know if the kids are like the kids and us. Like we've never been here, so it's like, hey, we're Melissa. Like we're meant to be here. You know, it's okay that we're here. It's, you know, and so I think that's one thing that we've been trying to do with the kids is, you know, our Coach Nally's motto this year is Melissa's versus everyone. You know, like Michigan did. And really, and like if you see on our game day shirts that they wear under their jerseys, it'll say bet. You know, and it's just kind of taking that mentality of like, it's going to be us versus everyone. Everyone wants Melissa to lose.
Yeah.
You know, they're the rich town
100%,
that has
yeah.
really good football, but they can't do it. I mean, there's writers and reporters that, you know, you can tell that they don't like Melissa, and they're going to bet against Melissa.
Yeah.
And so we've kind of just taken that, and I think that the kids have taken that. You know, I mean, you probably know some of these names like Donahoe and Babney and Patusik.
7th grade history, baby.
Yes.
Smartest kid I had. He was awesome.
That and Colin Craig, like those guys have just kind of said like, and Coach Pennington and I have really tried to instill in those kids, Jacob Nye, Tyler Montgomery, that like the coaches and good teams will go so far, but the best teams are player led. Yeah. The players are going to take the lead and let the coaches do their job, and they're going to do their thing. And not to say that we haven't had that, but I think that these kids are locked in.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think they've heard so much, and I think us as coaches as well have heard, like, you're not going to be very good. You don't have certain players, and you don't have this. You lost so much last year. And so I think they're tired of hearing that.
Yeah.
And they want to get out, and they want to show. So I think that that's been kind of the big thing, is kind of changing the culture in the sense of, you guys are meant to be good teams.
Yeah.
It's not just like a luck that you are there.
Sure.
You know, but obviously, I'm with you with the luck of. I mean, you see a penalty, or I mean, I went and watched soccer last year after we lost in the 3rd round, and they drop a punt.
Yeah.
And the team gets it on the 10, and it's like, well, shoot, man, I
doesn't
wish they would have done that.
Yeah,
against us.
exactly. Why didn't that
they do
happen?
everything perfect, and we mess up. You know? So
all I could think this year, stupid 49ers losing in the Super Bowl. All I could think, literally, as Patrick Mahomes, is I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We kicked a field goal, so I know Mahomes is getting the ball. I know what's about to happen. So every play, I wasn't thinking, man, we got to get a stop, get a tackle. It was, we need a tipped ball. We need a fumbled snap. We need some sort of luck on our side right now that you see every now and then, which of course was not going to happen to Patrick Mahomes. But that's all I could think, and people don't ever really take that into account enough, I don't think. It's just, it's so difficult. There's so much that has to go your way, and it makes it tough.
It makes me think of, I mean, we were just talking about the receiver of the show, and George Kittle, I think it's the 3rd or 4th, 5th game, they lose to the Browns, and they miss the field goal.
Yeah.
And he's, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, that's how I felt after these games. It's like, well, shoot.
Yeah, like, what do I do now?
sucks.
I just have to
Like,
pick up and move on,
But yeah.
So for anybody watching who might coach in a different state, like you've coached in Utah, right?
Yeah,
You coached
in
Oregon as well. And then I've coached in Idaho and Arizona before I got to Texas. Like, how do you describe in like one sentence, like high school football? Like how, compared to those experiences, like in one sentence, how would you describe high school football in Texas?
I guess in one sentence, I would say it's tradition. And really not a sentence, just a word. It's tradition in the sense of like everyone cares.
Everyone cares.
Like you really think about like the SEC and the why the SEC is tradition.
Yeah.
And that, you know, the average Joe Schmo that maybe never played a down of football still cares about football.
Yeah.
You know, and there's just so much care and pride for the sport that you don't see in other sports or in other states.
Right.
You know, they put everything they have into this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, dude.
It
It sounds like an airport. That's what it reminds me of.
We always say it's like the Hunger Games.
Yeah, it totally is. The word that I always thought of when I think of Texas high school football is pageantry.
Yes.
Like I don't know. I know when I was in high school in Arizona and in Idaho, like the band is what comes to mind, like kind of a joke. Like I don't want to play up those stereotypes, like making fun of kids is wrong, but like you kind of look a certain way at the band. And that's not how it is in Texas. Like they love their band.
Yeah.
And it is such a big part of the production. And it's literally like being at a college game every Friday night. And you said everyone cares. And that's like a blessing and a curse because like you said, you lost that game and you texted your wife like, hey, we got to get ready to move. Like you can't just settle into your job and collect a paycheck for 20 years going 500 every year. Not in Melissa, maybe in some smaller towns, but here at Melissa, like they expect you to win and you're on like a year-to-year basis basically, right?
Yeah. And I remember my first game we played. We played Liberty Christian at home.
Okay.
And we ended up getting beat like 14-7. I was coaching defense at the time, and we're warming up, but like I hear the band come in, and I just stopped and just kind of took it all in.
Yeah.
I felt like I was at a college game.
Yeah.
And I remember somebody's like, coach, Coach Hammy, and I just had to kind of lock back in that like, one, holy crap, I'm here.
Yeah.
But like, golly, this is different. This isn't Thibodeau's High School or Pendleton High School where I coach. Like this is it.
This is the big time.
Yeah.
This is the mecca for if you dream to be a high school football coach. This is here, not just Texas, but like Melissa is probably one of the top. Golly, it's got to be one of the top 10 jobs in Texas right now. We're 5A now, no longer 4A. As good as I put up our facilities up against, I keep saying our, I put up the Melissa facilities up against anybody in Texas as a whole, right? I mean, how is this do you know the size, like rank, like how big is this stadium? Is it the 5th biggest or 6th biggest?
I'm not really sure on that. I would say, we're right behind Allen and McKinney.
Yeah.
Their stadiums. I think this one holds 10 or 12. I'm not sure how much those ones hold, but it's one of the biggest
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
ones.
It's unbelievable.
And I think for me, I'm just extremely blessed of how I got here. Like I would have never thought in a million years that I would be here and have this much coverage on the team that I was at.
Yeah.
Because I grew up in a small town in Oregon.
Yeah.
The rodeo grounds was our stadium.
Yeah.
And then luckily I met Coach Pickup, and he got me a job down here, and obviously you called me out of the blue, like
yeah. Yeah, that's a whole video by itself how I got that job. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, man. Well, I love this place. I'm super grateful that my time here, everything I learned, and I'm grateful that you're willing to do this with me here right now. My last question that I wanna leave you with, I think probably, unless I come up with a different one, we'll see. How many kids? I meant to ask this earlier. That's why it's kind of at the end. How many kids went on a Division I scholarship last year from this that are gone now? Or how many kids on last year's team? Because you're right, we were number 1 in Texas.
Yeah.
Either they left because either they graduated or they're returning as seniors. Or how many kids last year had a Division I offer? Because I have this conversation with people like at church and like at work all the time. Like, you guys don't understand. Like I've never seen a team stacked like this before.
Yeah. I might have to go through this.
Yeah,
if it's okay.
yeah.
So you got Nigel went to OU.
Yep.
Carson went to Sam Houston State. They just went up to Division I. Lincoln, Nathan Adejokin, and KT all signed to Army.
Okay.
Gunner went to Oklahoma State.
Yep.
Trying to think who else Jackson Ford went to Tulsa.
Yeah.
He was our big tight end.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anyone else. And then, we had other kids sign at smaller schools.
Sure.
But I think it was just those guys.
And then who on the team this year?
So right now we got Jacob Nye that's kind of sitting on. He's got a couple big offers.
BYU?
He's just got BYU.
If he doesn't go to Boise State, I'm be so disappointed.
He's just waiting for that offer.
Yeah.
I think at this point, he's kind of narrowed in, but I don't want to say what it is yet.
Sure. That's fine.
So then you'll have like our quarterback is a junior, but he has tons of offers. You got Donahoe that's kind of waiting on some of those offers. He always says I want to play at West Point, so we could have another kid at Army. And then you got a couple different kids that'll, Slim Porter.
Sure.
He's got offers from pretty much everywhere in the country now, and he's also a linebacker for us. And
you've got Owen, Owen's
going to OU.
Yeah, committed to OU.
We'll have Jake Brown. Will probably end up going to a smaller, big school.
Yeah.
And then another kid will be probably a D2 kid. And then we have another kid that'll be a junior that will pretty much have any offer he wants in the country.
Yeah.
And then the other tackle will sign it, probably a FCS school.
Yeah.
So
you also had Grayson Spann, who's not here now. Yeah. He's up at Blue Ridge, but he just committed to Sam Houston, right? Yeah. Unreal, man.
That's what's fun is like seeing all the. Now it's not so big, but I remember when Brendan Lewis and all them. He's the quarterback in Nevada now, but when some of those coaches start coming in, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's so and so. Now it's just like you don't get as starstruck.
Sure.
And it's more of like a business, and you're doing your thing with them. But it's pretty cool to meet the people that we've got to meet through that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
That's amazing, man.
yeah.
Well, I know you're not going to give me any kind of predictions, but like you feel optimistic about this season. We'll wrap it up with this. You feel optimistic about this season. Like, can you give me some kind of sense of like state championship bound, or do you feel like is it a tougher mountain to climb this year? Like, what are your general vibes going into the year? I know you gave me a little bit, but
yeah, I think district-wise, I think there's 4 of us that could battle for the district title.
Yeah.
You know, obviously we add Anna, who just won the state championship in 4A. You know, Lovejoy's the rival down the street that beat us last year, and they got Todd Dodges, their head coach now, that is a big-time state champion around here. You add Emerson, that played for the semifinal last year in 5A. You know, so our district, I feel like, is tough. I think a lot of people are not looking at it that way, but I think our district is tough.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I think everyone got excited because we moved from Region 2 to Region 1. And so it's more like we're kind of with the West Texas schools. So I think people thought it was going to be easier.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think that the Region 1 is tougher than Region 2. Because you got the Argyle's districts in that one, and there was 3 Wichita Falls schools, but they've now gone down to 2 schools. So I think with that, they're going to be tough. So I'm excited for that, to like play in a region in the playoffs where it's like there's really not a easy game.
Sure.
You know, like round 1, you better have your crap together.
Your stuff together, yeah.
And get beat. But you know, I think the kids, you know, obviously we're going to say, I mean, everyone's going to say that we're going to go win state.
Sure.
You know, and,
as they should, though.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I don't think there's any competitor that's not going to say
that
you're going to go win state. But I think that the kids, if they can be player-led, I think we have a good shot at doing something special. Whether that, who knows what that's going to be, but I think that it's going to be a special year.
Dang right.
So,
Dang right.
Good.
Offensive coordinator, Melissa High School, one of the most incredible high schools you've ever seen. Getting ready. We're in July right now, so they're right in the heart of it, about to gear up for camp and get it going. Hammy, you're the man, brother. I appreciate you. Guys,
Absolutely.
like, subscribe the video. We're out.